General Hospital will reveal the sudden passing of Pope Francis has created a profound shockwave that rippled not only through the heart of the Catholic Church but also across the world, leaving behind a void filled with sorrow and contemplation. As millions of the faithful struggled to process the emotional impact of his death, a surprising and controversial piece of news emerged. The long-running American television drama General Hospital, GH, announced a temporary suspension of its broadcast to honor the late Holy Father. The announcement instantly ignited a heated debate on social media and within the show's dedicated fanbase. While many viewers expressed agreement and were deeply moved by this unexpected tribute from a TV show that seemingly has little to do with religious life, hailing it as a solemn gesture and a connection to the universal values Pope Francis championed, compassion, humility, and social justice, others reacted with skepticism. A segment of the audience deemed the decision to halt such a popular series over a religious leader's death as unrealistic and excessive. The controversy escalated further when major media outlets reported that GH would not only suspend for a single day but could potentially pause its broadcast for the remainder of the week to allow the cast and crew time to mourn and participate in memorial observances. At precisely 9:45 a.m., Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Camerlengo of the Roman Catholic Church, delivered the official announcement of Pope Francis's death from the Santa Marta Chapel with the following words: "Dear brothers and sisters, with great sorrow, I must inform you of the passing of our Holy Father, Pope Francis. At 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of the Father. His entire life was dedicated to serving God and His Church. He taught us to live the values of the gospel with fidelity, courage, and universal love, especially for the poorest and most marginalized. With boundless gratitude for his example as a true disciple of Jesus, we entrust the soul of Pope Francis to the infinite mercy of the Holy Trinity." The words, broadcast globally in over 120 countries, coincided with GH's sudden announcement on its official website and social channels. The homepage of General Hospital went dark, displaying a stark black background and a single line of text: "Broadcast paused in memory of Pope Francis, 1936 to 2025. Please join us in prayer for his soul." Reports later revealed that this decision was not made lightly. It was the result of a nearly 2-hour internal meeting among the producers, writers, directors, and ABC executives. Some insiders shared that multiple staff members broke down in tears during the discussion, recalling Pope Francis's numerous appeals to care for the poor, the sick, the forgotten, and the marginalized, issues that have long been reflected in GH's storylines. A senior writer, known for her poignant scripts on pandemic loss and human compassion, was reportedly the first to suggest the temporary suspension as an act of solidarity with the world's grief. This move, while lauded by many, continued to draw criticism from those who argued that it blurred the line between entertainment and religious expression. Media analysts, cultural critics, and even theologians began weighing in, debating whether this was a sincere act of reverence or a hollow gesture. Yet the GH production team remained resolute, with one spokesperson stating, "This is not about television. It's about humanity. We believe that every act of reverence is worthy, no matter the cost in airtime." Meanwhile, at the Vatican, the scene was one of collective mourning. Millions gathered in St. Peter's Square, lighting candles and offering prayers. The Pope's body was placed in St. Peter's Basilica for public visitation. His native Argentina declared a week of national mourning, and tributes poured in from leaders across the globe. Former U.S. presidents, current heads of state, and even previous critics of the Pope issued heartfelt statements. At the same time, thousands of tributes emerged across American media, from newspaper front pages to unexpected places like Hollywood. Within GH's production lot in Los Angeles, the atmosphere was solemn. Shooting was immediately suspended. Cast and crew members reportedly held a private memorial on set. Veteran actors shared reflections, and some posted emotional messages online. One longtime actor wrote, "For 15 years, I've played a doctor saving patients' lives on screen. But no one in real life has ever brought so much healing to the world as he did." What began as the passing of a religious leader has now taken on deeper significance, sparking discussions about the intersection of faith and culture, of sacredness and the everyday, of loss and resilience. And in these quiet days, while the world watches Vatican City in prayer, a surprising silence has settled over Hollywood, a silence shaped by the presence of Pope Francis. The decision to temporarily suspend the broadcast of General Hospital as a tribute to Pope Francis did not arise from a mere reaction to breaking news, it was the result of a deeply emotional internal movement within the show's production team. According to several sources from within the studio, as soon as the Pope's passing was confirmed, an emergency meeting was called at the GH set in Los Angeles. What was meant to be a 30-minute gathering extended into nearly 3 hours, filled with silence, tears, and personal reflections from those who had long admired the late pontiff. At the beginning of the meeting, the executive producer of General Hospital addressed the room with a heartfelt statement, revealing that more than one-third of the production team identified as Catholic. Many had visited Rome, attended masses led by Pope Francis, or simply felt deeply moved by his messages to the world. As the room fell into a reverent silence, several individuals broke down in tears upon hearing some of Pope Francis's most iconic quotes repeated, phrases like, "Never forget the poor," and, "Do not fear difference, for it is the beginning of love." It was during this emotionally charged moment that the show's head writer, considered the creative soul of GH for over a decade, proposed an unprecedented action, a full pause in the show's broadcast schedule. This wasn't just a break in programming. It was, in their words, an invitation to reflect, to mourn, and to align the show's values with the spiritual ideals the Pope had exemplified throughout his life. In a handwritten letter later published on GH's official website and widely shared across social media, the head writer wrote, "General Hospital has never simply been a show about doctors, hospitals, or family tragedy. It is a story about compassion, forgiveness, and the ongoing battle to rise above the self." For over a decade, Pope Francis embodied all of these values, with courage, empathy, and an unshakable sense of justice. Our temporary suspension is not a disruption. It is a moment of silence to honor someone who inspired the world. The letter's sincerity resonated far beyond the soap opera's fanbase. Religious communities, entertainment circles, and even major media outlets praised GH for its bold and compassionate decision. One prominent American network lauded the moment as a rare convergence of pop culture and spiritual conscience. Meanwhile, in Vatican City, an entirely different yet emotionally parallel scene was unfolding. In the hours following the official announcement of Pope Francis's death, millions of faithful began flooding St. Peter's Square. Candles were lit under the Roman night sky, forming a sea of light across the historic square, a sacred ground that had witnessed some of the Catholic Church's most profound events. The body of Pope Francis was solemnly placed in St. Peter's Basilica, where mourners from around the world lined up for hours in silence, many visibly weeping. Across Europe, South America, Asia, and beyond, churches hosted simultaneous vigils and prayer services. Church bells tolled mournfully in cities and villages alike, echoing in solidarity with the faithful in mourning. In Pope Francis's homeland of Argentina, the government declared a 7-day national mourning period. Schools, government offices, and media outlets paused operations for a brief window to commemorate the national hero turned global icon. Hundreds of thousands gathered in the country's main squares, holding portraits and paintings of the Pope, many of which were hand-drawn, bearing heartfelt messages of love and gratitude. World leaders, from democratically elected presidents to monarchs, spiritual figures, and even those previously at odds with the Vatican, joined in paying tribute. From the powerful to the poor, from those of faith to those without, a singular truth became clear: something sacred had departed from the world, leaving a void that words could not fill. By choosing to pause its broadcast, General Hospital did more than mark a moment in television history. It demonstrated that even in an industry built on fiction and entertainment, there is room for reverence, for humility, for a bowed head in the face of spiritual greatness. In doing so, GH reminded the world that sometimes, in moments of loss, even art must fall silent before the sacred. While solemn funeral rites were being prepared in Vatican City, across the globe in Los Angeles, home to the General Hospital production, an unusual and profound silence fell over the set. This was not the typical quiet between takes, nor a scheduled break in production. Instead, it was a collective pause born of grief and reverence. According to internal sources, a key scene scheduled for Monday afternoon was abruptly cancelled, and the entire cast and crew came together in a private, impromptu prayer gathering on set to honor the late Pope Francis, a figure many among them deeply admired. The gathering took place not on camera, but behind the scenes in Studio 7, an iconic soundstage where some of the show's most emotionally resonant moments have been filmed. There were no lights, no props, no scripts. Just people gathered in stillness, lighting candles and bowing their heads. Several longtime cast members reportedly shed tears as they joined hands and offered silent prayers. It was a moment of unity rarely seen in the high-pressure world of television production. Some of the show's principal actors took to social media to share heartfelt tributes. One veteran actress, who plays a beloved doctor on the series, wrote, "In a world consumed by chaos and division, Pope Francis stood as one of the last great beacons of compassion and humility. Today, we mourn not just a leader, but a guide. And General Hospital stands still in his memory." Yet, what drew even more public attention than the prayer vigil itself was the intensifying controversy surrounding GH's decision to suspend its broadcast. On one hand, Catholic media outlets and religious leaders praised the show, calling it a rare moment when popular culture bowed its head to the sacred. They commended GH for having the courage to pause entertainment for the sake of honoring a spiritual giant. In a time of noise, GH chose silence. And that silence spoke volumes, wrote one editorial in a major religious journal. On the other hand, critics from the secular media and television industry were far less forgiving. Skeptics accused the show of exploiting the Pope's death to draw attention, pointing out GH's past use of shocking plotlines to boost ratings. Some media analysts warned that the abrupt broadcast halt could backfire, potentially leading to a sharp decline in viewership, disrupted advertiser contracts, and logistical chaos in the show's long-term production schedule. One communications professor at the University of California commented, "While the tribute may seem noble, it introduces risk. Audiences are loyal to consistency. When a serialized drama breaks its rhythm, especially at a dramatic high point, it can lose momentum and credibility." Caught between praise and criticism, GH's executive producers stood firm. In a press release issued the following morning, they stated with quiet conviction, "This is not about television. This is about humanity. In moments that shake the world, we believe that every act of reverence, no matter the cost in airtime, is worthwhile." That statement, while not enough to silence all debate, carved out a unique space in the history of American television. At a time when empathy is often overshadowed by metrics and monetization, General Hospital chose to do something few in the industry would dare, to stop, to bow, and to listen to the still, small voice of the human heart. While solemn funeral rites are being finalized at the Vatican, Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the man who officially announced the passing of Pope Francis, has confirmed that the papal funeral will take place on April 27, in what is expected to be a historic ceremony in St. Peter's Square. The event will likely draw hundreds of thousands of mourners, including heads of state, religious dignitaries, and millions of Catholics watching around the globe. On that same day, another significant event, the canonization of Carlo Acutis, the first millennial to be declared a saint, has been postponed, making room for this unparalleled moment of farewell for the spiritual leader of over 1 billion Catholics. Both ceremonies, one marking a sacred departure, the other celebrating a young saint's eternal legacy, are now intertwined in an atmosphere of global mourning and reverence. The Catholic world is collectively holding its breath, not just in grief, but in solemn anticipation, knowing that these days mark a pivotal historical transition. Churches across continents have held special masses in remembrance, and sermons everywhere have echoed with reflections on Pope Francis's spiritual legacy. His unwavering closeness to the poor, his relentless push for reform, and his unique ability to unite faith with compassion in a modern world. Yet amid these sacred preparations, one major question remains unanswered: who will succeed Pope Francis? With over 80% of the College of Cardinals now appointed by him, many believe the next pontiff is likely to carry on his progressive vision. Still, there are concerns brewing beneath the surface: fears of political power struggles within the Vatican, tensions between conservative and reformist factions, and uncertainties about whether the next leader will maintain the delicate balance Pope Francis cultivated during his pontificate. Meanwhile, in an entirely different realm, on the other side of the Atlantic, the set of General Hospital in Los Angeles remains eerily quiet. Since the announcement of its temporary suspension, fans around the world have been waiting anxiously for an update, but as of now, no return date has been given. On online forums and fan communities, discussions range from curiosity to concern. Some believe the show will resume shortly, after this moment of respectful silence. Others wonder whether this pause signals something deeper, a major directional shift, or perhaps the beginning of a structural transformation for one of America's longest-running television dramas. There is no denying that General Hospital stands at a symbolic crossroads. The passing of Pope Francis has not only touched the hearts of millions of believers, it has subtly reverberated into the realm of popular culture. Cultural critics have noted, if the death of a pope can cause Hollywood to stop in its tracks, then he was more than a spiritual leader, he was the embodiment of a global humanitarian conscience. And indeed, Pope Francis's death has transcended religious boundaries. This is no longer just a loss for the Catholic Church. It is a global event, a moment of spiritual magnitude that has reached every layer of society, every belief system, every corner of public life, even in the most unlikely of places, such as a television studio in the United States. Whether or not General Hospital returns to the air next week, or next month, this moment, when the show chose to pause, to mourn, and to honor, has forever marked a powerful intersection between spiritual reverence and modern storytelling. Regardless of what lies ahead, one truth is clear: the echo of Pope Francis's departure will be felt not only in churches and basilicas, but also in the places we least expect, reminding us that compassion, humility, and humanity are never out of place, even on the most scripted of stages.